When you think about the tragic downfall of Brian Winters, you probably picture a player who was nothing more than a throw-in piece in one of basketball's biggest trades. A guy who got shipped off to Milwaukee as part of the deal that sent Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to the Lakers. A second-string guard destined to be forgotten by history. But what if everything you thought you knew about Brian Winters was wrong? What if the story of this so-called trade casualty is actually one of the most inspiring tales of resilience and triumph in NBA history? On June 16, 1975, the basketball world was turned upside down. The Milwaukee Bucks traded away their franchise cornerstone, the league's reigning MVP Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, to the Los Angeles Lakers. This wasn't just any trade. This was the best player in the world-changing teams. And Brian Winters, a promising young guard just 1 year into his professional career, was part of the package heading to Milwaukee. The trade wasn't born from drama or conflict. Kareem had approached Bucks management privately in October 1974 with a personal request. As a devout Muslim and jazz lover, he felt that his lifestyle was incompatible with what Milwaukee could offer at the time. He wanted to move to either New York or Los Angeles, cities where he felt more culturally at home. In an act of professionalism that stands in stark contrast to many modern trade demands, Abdul-Jabbar made his request privately and promised to honor his contract. This gave Milwaukee's front office nearly 8 months to negotiate the best possible return. The Bucks faced an impossible challenge. How do you trade the best player in the world? Their strategy was clear: pivot toward a youth movement. And Brian Winters, who had just been named to the NBA All-Rookie First Team after a stellar debut season, was exactly the type of high-value young talent they targeted. The Lakers were reluctant to part with him, but Milwaukee held firm. They specifically wanted Winters as a cornerstone piece for their rebuild. Imagine the pressure. Winters arrived in Milwaukee tasked with helping fill the void left by a legend. The weight of expectations was crushing. Contemporary reports labeled him a second-string guard, seemingly destined to be a historical footnote in a trade that reshaped two franchises. But Winters had already proven he could overcome impossible odds. To understand his resilience, we need to go back to his college days at the University of South Carolina. His time with the Gamecocks was a true test of character. Severe health setbacks, including a debilitating case of mononucleosis and a series of knee injuries, threatened to end his basketball career before it truly began. Most players would have crumbled under such physical adversity. Not Brian Winters. His response was nothing short of remarkable. After battling through these health issues, he had an explosive senior year that changed everything. He more than doubled his scoring average from his sophomore season, jumping from 8.3 points per game to an incredible 20.0 points per game. He established himself as an elite collegiate talent through sheer determination and willpower. This kind of resilience is what defines a true athlete. And if you enjoy stories about players who overcome the odds, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss our next video. This dramatic improvement after facing significant health challenges provided the psychological blueprint for everything that would follow. When he was thrust into the immense pressure of the Abdul-Jabbar trade, he was already equipped with a proven capacity for overcoming adversity. The Los Angeles Lakers had drafted Winters as the 12th overall pick in 1974, a clear validation that they saw him as a future star. His rookie season had been impressive enough to earn all-rookie first-team honors, but now he faced his greatest test yet, proving he belonged in Milwaukee. Winters didn't just meet the impossible expectations placed on him, he absolutely shattered them. In his very first season with the Bucks in 1975-76, he averaged 18.2 points and 4.7 assists per game, earning his first NBA All-Star selection. This wasn't the performance of a mere trade piece. This was a star announcing his arrival. From 1975 to 1980, Winters entered his prime years. During this stretch, he averaged an impressive 18.7 points, 4.7 assists, and 1.4 steals per game. He had transformed from a trade casualty into one of the league's elite shooting guards. His tenure was marked by numerous standout performances that made him a fan favorite in Milwaukee. He once scored a career-high 43 points against the Portland Trail Blazers. In another game, he dished out a remarkable 18 assists against the Washington Bullets. He even hit a game-winning jump shot in a triple overtime thriller against the New York Knicks in 1977. But what truly set Brian Winters apart was his shooting ability. His jump shot was a thing of beauty, mechanically perfect in every way. And we're not just talking about the opinion of random fans or analysts. We're talking about the ultimate authority on basketball excellence. Michael Jordan, arguably the greatest player in the sport's history, had this to say about Brian Winters. He was the best pure shooter in history, and he had the most beautiful stroke of all the people Jordan could think of. When the man many consider the GOAT gives you that kind of praise, you know you're witnessing something special. Winters wasn't just a shooter, though. He was recognized for his incredibly high basketball IQ, which allowed him to be both an effective scorer and playmaker. When the NBA introduced the three-point line in the 1979-80 season, he adapted seamlessly. He became an early long-range threat under the innovative coaching of Don Nelson, shooting a solid 37.3% from beyond the arc in its inaugural season. For 8 seasons, Brian Winters was the heart and soul of the post-Kareem Bucks. He earned 2 All-Star selections and became a beloved figure who helped guide the franchise through a period of transition and back to prominence. The trade that was supposed to define him as a failure was instead becoming the foundation of his legend. But every great story has its challenges, and Winters' career would face its greatest test in the early 1980s. His production began to decline after 1980, and several factors contributed to this shift. The emergence of Sidney Moncrief, a dynamic two-way guard drafted in 1979, altered the team's backcourt hierarchy. Moncrief himself noted that an injury to Winters provided the opportunity for his own breakout, illustrating the natural evolution of the roster. As the Bucks evolved into a championship contender, Winters successfully transitioned from being the team's primary scorer to a vital veteran role player. This was a selfless, team-first adjustment that reflected both his character and the philosophy of Coach Don Nelson. However, the most significant factor in his decline was the cumulative physical toll of his early career injuries. The health problems that had plagued him in college were catching up with him. A chronic back issue became a major obstacle, ultimately cited as the primary reason for his early retirement. In his final season of 1982-83, his performance saw a sharp drop. His field goal percentage fell to a career low, .434. The writing was on the wall. At just 31 years old, Brian Winters retired from professional basketball, closing the book on a playing career defined by both brilliance and resilience. Here's where many would say his story ends in tragedy. A brilliant career cut short by injury. A player who never reached his full potential because his body failed him. But that interpretation misses the most important part of Brian Winters' story. On October 28, 1983, the Milwaukee Bucks made a statement that would forever define how Brian Winters should be remembered. They retired his number 32 jersey, permanently hanging it in the rafters. At the time, he was only the third player in franchise history to receive this honor, joining the elite company of the greatest Bucks of all time. This wasn't just a nice gesture. This was the ultimate validation. The same organization that had acquired him as part of the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar trade was now declaring that his contributions were so fundamental, so meaningful, that his number would never be worn again. Press photos from the ceremony show him receiving a plaque from a Milwaukee association in appreciation for his efforts, clear evidence of the respect and affection he had earned from the community. The Bucks weren't retiring the jersey of a footnote or a role player. They were honoring a franchise icon, someone who had taken an impossible situation and turned it into something beautiful. The trade that brought him to Milwaukee had been completely overshadowed by his own accomplishments. Brian Winters' story didn't end with his playing career either. He embarked on a coaching journey that would span nearly 3 decades, from 1984 to 2013. He learned from some of the game's most respected minds, including legendary coach Pete Carroll at Princeton and Hall of Famer Lenny Wilkens with the Cleveland Cavaliers and Atlanta Hawks. While his NBA head coaching experiences with expansion teams were challenging, his success in the WNBA told a different story. As head coach of the Indiana Fever from 2004 to 2007, he compiled an impressive 78-58 record and guided the franchise to their first-ever consecutive playoff appearances. His coaching career proved that his basketball knowledge and leadership extended far beyond his playing days. The man who arrived in Milwaukee as a component of a trade for a giant of the game left as a franchise icon in his own right. His legacy isn't that of a historical footnote, but of a 2-time All-Star, a fan favorite, and the owner of what Michael Jordan called the most beautiful stroke in basketball. The number 32 hanging in Milwaukee's Fiserv Forum rafters tells the real story of Brian Winters. It's the enduring symbol of a player who turned the shadow of a trade into a celebrated chapter in Bucks history. His downfall wasn't tragic at all. It was the beginning of something legendary. What do you think of Brian Winters' incredible career? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories from the world of sports.